Hello, and welcome to my videographic essay, in which I wish to explore an analysis of the techniques used to effectively present animal welfare being impacted by human factors in the show Avatar the Last Airbender. So, let's begin. Within this essay, I aim to critically analyse how Avatar the Last Airbender effectively depicts different forces that impact animal welfare. I shall explore the ways in which anthropomorphised non-human animals are harmed and objectified by mankind, from hunting, work, through to entertainment. I will also look at the relevance of realism on the show's arguably successful depictions. For the purpose of context, I've selected Avatar the Last Airbender as my case study for animal welfare due to its being awarded the Genesis Award from the Humane Society of the United States, an award that seeks to, quote, honour works that convey the message of respect and compassion for animals. The topic is not only interesting to examine for entertainment purposes, but also there is an importance in looking in this niche as it can provide insight for how future children's shows can similarly, effectively, critically explore animal studies. Something that is increasingly relevant in the larger territory due to increasing levels of animal extinction and a call for action over animal welfare awareness in the world. These animated animals can play a significant role in shaping our cultural perspectives on real-life animals. My conclusion is that a combination of anthropomorphizing of the animals, realistic representation, and human perception are all factors that contribute to an impactful depiction of animals, and I shall use the rest of my essay to explain that reasoning. Chapter 1. The technique of anthropomorphizing. Anthropomorphization is an essential component of the language of animation, but also a double-edged sword, eroding the realness of the animals on the one hand, but encouraging empathy on the other. Avatar the Last Airbender has two key animals that are continuous members of the group. Appa, a hybrid between a bison and the element of wind, who's able to fly, and Momo, a winged lemur, also able to fly. Both creatures are fictional hybrids, as are popular in the show. In fact, the base of the show is bending, which is the magical control some people have over the four core elements. The inventors of such bending were these hybrid animals. Badger moles were the original earthbenders, the sky bison were the original airbenders, and the dragons the first firebenders. The animals in the show are anthropomorphized to a degree. While they escape some of the more common areas of anthropomorphization, such as being clothed, verbal, and bipedal, except for in one dream sequence.
You've got to take care of yourself. You can't go on like this.
Look, I appreciate what you guys are saying.
They understand human speech, and there are other moments too where unrelated species communicate in an unrealistic way that reconceptualizes the nature of communication so that they are less exclusively centered on human verbal language. We also see intentions and the display of emotions such as grief, which we may normally relegate to emotions that mankind alone feels. Take for example this scene in which Momo is searching for his lost companion Appa. We can see in the end he curls up on the only evidence he can find of him, a footprint, watched over by his mournful friends. His eyes slowly close, and he curls in on himself. Ulrich singles out character design, especially that of the face, eyes, in computer animation, as a means of eliciting emotional and empathetic responses. She also credits those visual components for grounding or normalizing the more fantastical elements of animation for the viewer. However, the reception of iconic images is not necessarily straightforward. As Wells writes, animation has the power to either dilute or amplify meaning. Some would argue the technique of having Momo express a more anthropocentric search for the central human cast's friend could taint his identity, as it is purely related to a human way of thinking that ultimately distracts from the element we should focus on, animal kidnapping by the human element. However, as Whitley argues, anthropomorphization enables a powerful empathy to be built up between the viewer and the archetypal image of nature as a form to which we are connected and owe allegiance. As viewers, we have seen Momo has his own desires. He was never sent on this quest by humans. He took it upon himself for his own purposes. Appa is his friend, and is portrayed as just as much of a friend to Momo as to the rest of the central human cast. Seeing Momo's grief allows us to grieve for the notion of kidnapped animals, rather than simply enrage us about it happening. And by inducing a range of emotions, the audience will care more. We can see this anthropomorphization being used as a technique to allow the audience to empathize and witness how external human factors are negatively impacting Appa's welfare in the show, particularly during the episode Appa's Last Days. Appa may have anthropocentric thoughts and dreams, seeing a young boy in the audience and fantasizing about his human companion Aang, but his behavior is recognizable as animal. Viewers watching may have seen similar actions in real-life circuses or at zoos. His clear discomfort challenges the idea of keeping animals in captivity. We see him donning makeup, perhaps also nodding to the ridiculousness of the cosmetic industry testing products on animals, or perhaps simply to show how far this great beast has been taken. The circus owner, to add insult to injury, even gets his species name wrong, describing him as a winged buffalo instead of a sky bison, perhaps as a technique to show the ignorance that mankind has over that which they want to possess. Chapter 2. The Technique of Fantasy. Anthropomorphism can lead to an inaccurate understanding of biological processes in the natural world, says Patricia Garner, a psychologist at Toronto University. It can also lead to inappropriate behaviours towards wild animals, such as trying to adopt a wild animal as a pet, or misinterpreting the actions of a wild animal. However, Appa holds a special balance due to being a fictional creature. We as an audience can suspend our disbelief of the character. He's unlike, say, a dog, where breaks in behaviour that are too human might ruin realistic representation and cause the audience to struggle to think critically, losing the overall message of the show. This can be seen happening in other cases, such as Finding Nemo, wherein depictions of the show's overall environmental message are lost. The sale of clownfish skyrocketed. The fish in the film were so human that they disconnected in the eyes of children from the actual fish that they put in their tanks. Appa is a fictional being whom we can see as a collage of animalistic patterns and behaviours in the form of a shape of something that we can resonate with. In his scene in the circus, we can see the animalistic pacing of the cage like a tiger, the scratching behind the ear like a dog, the swooping between loops like a bird. By being a mix of many creatures, we do not expect realism in his behaviours, and therefore can think critically and empathetically about animals. This allows us to ruminate on the idea that it is up to us humans to choose not to exploit animals and to dismantle the system that abuses them and the environment, the workers, and the consumers' health. Chapter 3. The Technique of Showing Choice and Perspective. Jerry Bentham once said, "The question is not can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer?" Now, as a fantasy series, Avatar the Last Airbender does lead towards a more romanticised view of nature, which could be seen as reductionist of the true problems. Momo escapes the cage in which he's locked, a realistic depiction of the capabilities of primates, but Avatar does not go further to address the critical issue of hunting and poaching that threatens animals in the real world. In that way, Momo's story falls somewhat short of pure environmental message. He escapes, but the hunting will continue for the rest of the show off stage, and the human-centric story takes the limelight. And in this way, Avatar takes a very realistic look at the human factors that impact on animal welfare. One animal escaping does not mean the end of hunting. But that is not all. It does offer us hope. It offers hope to humans that we can be more than destroyers of the natural world. One could certainly argue that showing such a small, young cast saves so many lives and animals is a technique that effectively shows the impact human factors can have on animal welfare in and of itself. with characters such as the panda Heibai being pacified by the regrowth of this forest after the children present him with acorns. Its greatest strength as a show, though, is its honest that it is not always the case. The show never takes on a fully anti-hunting or anti-meat-eating stance, with the central protagonist being a vegetarian and his friend Sokka having meat as his favourite food.
Yes, all life is sacred.
I know, I'm even a vegetarian.
You're awfully cute, but unfortunately for you, you're made of meat.
The members of the Water Tribe do not forgo their culture. It is maintained that they are hunters, who decorate their homes with wild animal skins, which is an effective technique to efficiently present how human cultural factors impact animal welfare, as they do in the real world. Change is unlikely unless we 1. Understand the reality of the helplessness of animals and the imprisoned that are killed for food, and 2. Are encouraged to feel empathy for them. It offers us a choice and reminds us that all things are connected. Time is an illusion, and so is death.
But I believe
Effectively presenting animal welfare
can save the world.